Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh boy, there's a certain level of sort of slight hysteria in the studio today, I think. Celine and I have been talking about how the hell are we going to do this? I mean, live. I mean, keep going. Anyway. We'll all figure it out. It's funny, we were saying that we keep trying to, go out, get away from it for a while, distract ourselves, and you can't. Everywhere you go, that's all people want to talk about. I go to work out. I spent my entire workout, just getting so freaked and depressed. I mean, jeez. And then before I could get out of the gym, a woman who comes in starts up, and I had trouble, extricating myself to get out the door. Everywhere you go, people are so frightened. Okay, so I think I got the latest news. The Associated Press just minutes ago reported that, and I don't have the details, but apparently the Democrats were boycotting the hearing today for Trump's Treasury Secretary Mnuchin and for his revolting pick for Health and Human Services Congressman Price. And the way these Senate committees work is you cannot have a vote if there is not at least one member. You have to have a quorum, and you have to have at least one member of both parties present. So the Democrats, to stall this, have simply not shown up, which is playing like the Republicans play. And what I saw was that apparently what the Republicans on these committees did is they just changed that rule, a rule that's been in place forever, and voted their guys through, Mnuchin and Price, with no Democrats present, which has never been. I mean, I don't know about never, but I'm just saying that's the latest I heard. There's a bombshell every 2 seconds that would normally, in the past, just about 12 days ago, be a huge story. And you can't even keep up anymore, can you? It's tough. So I might seem a little like all over the place because there are so many places that we need to witness and resist and understand. So, God, where to start? That's my problem. Okay, the big news we thought today would be the Supreme Court pick. It was down to the guy who got it and the guy from Pittsburgh, Hardiman. I got to tell you, too bad, because Hardiman would have been truly better. Truly better. Too bad. Well, because whoever it is going to get on, one way or the other. So I have nothing to say about that. I mean, that just takes us back to where we were. Scalia's gone. You separate him with little Scalia. And now it's back to where it was. That, of course, is a stolen seat in that it was vacated a year ago, and the Republicans refused to even hold a hearing on the president's nominee to fill that seat. A man whom the Republicans had given praise in the past. So that, I don't care if this Gorsuch is going to end up in that seat. That is Merrick Garland's seat. It's Merrick Garland's seat. By the way, Gorsuch, when I heard that name, I thought, that's ringing a bell. Why is that ringing a bell? His mother was the head of the EPA for a while, under some Republican. And my recollection of her, was it Ann Gorsuch, was not good. Because, as you know, any Republican overseeing the EPA, with the exception, I would say, of Christine Todd Whitman, who seemed to actually have some sympathy for the mission of the EPA. Okay, whatever. Bree just sent this in. He's our Asian correspondent. This is incredible. So, to protest the ban, the Muslim ban, let's call it what it is. The Republicans like to call things what they are, right? Like, and she won't even say Islamic extremism or whatever the hell. Terrorist Islamic extremism. Yeah, well now, guess who won't even say Muslim ban? Because that's what it is. So to protest the Muslim ban, I just want to see if there was an actual group behind this, but no, I don't think there is. It is a letter that is circulating all over the internet asking academics, professors at universities to sign this thing. And this thing is saying that we, the undersigned, pledge not to attend international conferences in the United States while this ban persists. We question the intellectual integrity of these spaces, and the dialogues are designed to encourage. Okay, so what they're updating this thing twice a day. I got to tell you, I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it appears to be every professor in the universe has signed this. So on any given day, there's some international conference at this university or that university or at the convention center or something like that. And people aren't going to come. We're going to become a pariah nation. Oh, God. So I'm looking at this, a whole bunch of people from everywhere. They're from Europe. They're from Asia. They're from Africa. They're from, oh my God. There's even some from the United States who I guess are saying they won't go to the conference even though they're already here. Wow. It's endless. they're saying at the last time somebody bothered to count, they're saying there's over 5,000 signatories to this. And these people are some of the, well, what they are is like the best minds in the world. And they want nothing to do with the United States of America under Donald Trump. This is amazing. I'm still scrolling down. The whole time I'm talking to you, I'm scrolling and running by hundreds of names. It's endless. It's endless. Wow. Oh, I'm not even halfway through. It's beyond belief. Sweden, Finland, UK, Canada. I can't imagine that there's a professor who wouldn't sign it. Wow. So, we're going to feel consequences of the election of this buffoon and the elevation of a white nationalist to essentially the presidency. I know we elected Donald Trump, but it is quite clear that the man running things is Steve Bannon. Thank you, MB, telling me that Ann Gorsuch was EPA head under Reagan. And she wanted to burn garbage in a designated rectangle of the ocean off the coast of Maryland? Okay. Great idea. I'm sure the fish would appreciate that too. So, okay, you got $100 million before this is over. The university professors from all over the world saying they will not come to the United States to attend any conferences. By the way, the impact on our economy of all the people who ain't going to come here is huge. Will be huge. If you don't think tourism is one of the big industries in this country, you ain't paying attention. So, speaking of memos that are traveling around the world with people signing up, we have the the memo, the dissent cable, I guess is what it's called, right? The dissent cable from the State Department employees, which would be, everybody from ambassadors to civil servants, whatever. So employees of the State Department. Now, to sign the dissent cable, saying that, and what the cable says is that they think that the Muslim ban is a ridiculously stupid thing to do and will have consequences that, in fact, will not make us safer in any way. The thing is, this thing's wending its way around the world from embassy to embassy. It has now over 1,000 signatures. Those are 1,000 people who work for our State Department willing to put their names out there, pushing back at this executive order and the Trump administration. And given the vindictiveness of this administration, I think every signature is an act of courage. Even though State Department rules are supposed to protect anyone who ever signs a dissent order. People sign dissent orders. They signed them during Barack Obama's presidency, when a lot of people in the State Department felt that Obama's policy towards Syria was wrong, just wrong. I think in retrospect, they turn out to be right. It was wrong. Well, you're allowed to dissent in the State Department, which is fantastic. Because there's a sense that if people aren't afraid to speak out, we'll never arrive at a place where we want to be, having taken in all information, all opinion, and then made a decision. So this is how, like, grown-ups and people who cherish democratic values operate. And the State Department has a rule that says anybody who signs a dissent cannot be retaliated against by the powers that be. But here's the thing. How are you going to prove they are? How do you know that the one guy who signed here has just essentially killed his chances of an ambassadorship that he was definitely in line for? It's that kind of thing. There are people who are going to suffer for signing that letter. And a lot of people who agree with it said they were afraid to sign it because of those risks. They were putting their livelihood ahead of that principled stand, but, sometimes, who knows? I don't know! And here's a thing we need to remember. It could well be that all the pushback from people in the government, the civil servants, is going to be more of a problem for Trump and Bannon than all us folks in the street. Us folks in the street are having an impact on the Democrats in Congress. That's good. We're pushing them in the right direction. But the bureaucrats who've served Republicans, Democrats, who know how the machinery works, when I can assure you Bannon and Trump don't have a clue. These civil servants and bureaucrats are going to be able to bollocks things up better than anybody. They're well positioned. And that gives me some measure of relief. One good thing I saw that happened, I don't know if it's getting much media, because so much is happening now. We're just simply not taking in a lot of stuff we normally would. As you know, I think the night that Trump was inaugurated, or the night he put out the Muslim ban, who can remember, a mosque in a Texas town was set afire and destroyed. Did you know that? Because obviously a hate crime. Well, there's a little story, and again, I'm getting a lot of this news from British publications. The Jews in that small town handed over the keys to their synagogue to the mosque. There's about 100 Muslims in this little town, and their only mosque has been torched. There are only about 25 Jews in this small Texas town, Victoria, Texas. And the president of the synagogue said, it's a small town. Everyone knows everybody. I know several members of the mosque. And when a calamity like this happens, we have to stand together. We've got a building here, and it's a lot of building for a small amount of Jews. So they went over to the home of one of the mosque's founders, Shahid Hashmi, and gave him a key to the synagogue. We gotta remember there are good people here. Caller, Joe? Is it Joe? Hi. He hung up? Joe? I'm sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
What I was calling about is, the greatest promoter of terrorism is the United States. We, with this Muslim ban, and then you're going to wait for Trump to hear from the generals or whatever. So what are they going to say? We're going to go there and put 50,000 troops in Iraq. We're going to annihilate ISIL. So we're back into the same situation, pouring gas on the fire and just keeping it going, stoking the fire. I mean, when is somebody going to wise up and say, enough of this bullshit, enough of spending the money, wasting dollars, getting lives killed, just like that bombing the other day or that raid they had with the 8-year-old. If that isn't promoting terrorism, they'll use that against us. We create this big monster of terrorism, and we're the ones just back off and stay away from it.
I know.
We just keep on.
No, but it's been so terrorism and ISIS have been the gift that keeps on giving to the Republican Party.
And
they
it's not
exploit
the
it.
freedom they're defending.
No.
It's keeping the war machine going.
That's right.
Constantly, perpetual war forever.
Yeah.
They love it. The Republicans love war. They like to kill things. They kill a stop sign if it looked at them the wrong way. I mean, they just love it. They love to kill. And I don't know when we're going to wise up. I'm washing my hands of it. I don't want to hear about the troops being there. I don't want to hear about none of that bullshit because it isn't doing nothing for me, nothing for you. All it is feeding the monster.
Yeah.
That's all it's doing.
Well, unfortunately, the first poll, of Americans' opinion of Trump's executive order in the Muslim ban this was done by Reuters and Ipsos. And unbelievably, Americans support the order by a 7-point margin.
Yeah.
Those are your
I
country.
heard that.
Those are your countrymen. They think it's a good idea. How did we get so stupid?
I have no idea. It's unreal.
Yeah.
It really is.
No nuance.
And another thing.
No ability to see past. If something seems like that's the answer, this is easy. Well, we won't let them in. Odds are that easy answer is incorrect. But they go easy.
And all this time with the immigrants, I used to call in and say about, they're taking it. Well, I used to say, the competition, too many people, there's competition. But I just read something the other day that I never even realized that the more people, the economy grows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because more goods they spend on goods.
That's right. That's the way this country's
I see it the other
grown.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way this country has grown.
Right. Without, like, the baby boomer thing is gone. So we don't have the people, coming up. So we have to rely on immigrants coming in. So,
even when the president, the new orange one, even when he's held these show, meetings with small business leaders and big business leaders and pharma and all this stuff, the people sitting around the table are often immigrants that are leading these huge countries. Immigrants who have created huge, the biggest American companies. They got odd names. You ain't sure how to pronounce them. The very people this guy and Bannon will keep out are the people who have made America what it is. It's mind-boggling.
And this called Trump Agent Orange.
Yeah,
'Cause
there
he's
you
a
go.
Poison.
There you go. That's a
Okay.
good one. Thank you. That's
Have
good.
a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. That's a good one. So, Trump tweeted something about the ban, keeping the bad guys out, the bad dudes out. That's all it's about, keeping bad people out. He did it again this morning. You know who it's keeping out? Mostly. Children. Those are the bad guys. Children. The world's most vulnerable people. Children who are homeless, who are fleeing war and starvation. And this idea that those people who are coming in are coming like the boat people into Greece and into Europe. It's not the same thing at all. Those boats with all those people fleeing that came into Greece and then to Europe were not vetted by anybody. Those were just desperate people fleeing. America's process that eventually ends in a visa or a green card or refugee status is unbelievable. It's tough. Most are rejected. Anyone who manages to get all the lines checked off is they're probably safer than the idiot living next door to you. I don't know. The idea that the people coming in here are terrorists is so repulsive. It suggests, first of all, that our State Department and all of our government doesn't care about safeguarding, and so they're just letting people through. It takes over 2 years. And so people who had waited 2, 3, 4, 5 and were ready to get on an airplane and were turned away. There are so many stories that rip your heart out at what happened on Friday and Saturday at our airports. I can't even bear to read them. The Syrian refugees who were lucky enough to get in before Donald Trump made the presidency, half of those who have already been settled in the United States, half of all our Syrian refugees are under 14 years of age. These are scary people. Yeah. UNICEF says that the Syrian refugee crisis is the largest humanitarian crisis since the end of World War II. And look at what we, America, the people with the Statue of Liberty in the harbor, look at our reaction. It's shameful. It's dispiriting. And we must push it back. We must push these people back. We are slamming the door in the faces of good people who will enrich our country, fleeing desperation, fleeing certain death, wanting freedom, doing everything right. These are not people sneaking across our border. These are people who have done every step, and we slam the door in their faces. ain't getting into heaven that way. Pope said the other day, Francis, that you cannot be a Christian and slam doors in the faces of refugees. You aren't Christian. New York Times has a little story. And they start trying to explain how not only were people turned away, but there are people now who are stuck in an airport that was like a leg of their trip. They now can't go forward, but they can't go back because they lack whatever. There are people living the movie that Tom Hanks made about the guy who got stuck in an airport for a year because he left his country and then there was a coup and it made it impossible for him to fly back. There are people who are stuck. They focused on one guy at the Amsterdam airport. He's a 33-year-old medical student from Iran. He was on his way. He had boarded a plane in Tehran, and it had gone to Amsterdam, and it was going to go from Amsterdam to I'm not sure where, and then on to Pittsburgh. He had a four. It was, not easy, but God, he was excited. It had taken him a year to arrange for this postdoctoral research post at the University of Pittsburgh. He felt that when he settled into that airplane, I finally did it. He was stranded at the airport in Amsterdam for days and days, unable to leave, unable to move forward. Eventually, he couldn't even. Nobody was giving him any place to sleep. Or bathe. When he was first told he couldn't go on, he thought, that's impossible. I've got everything here. And they're waiting for me in Pittsburgh. And he said the first thing he did was he got on the phone and he called his cousin who lives in California. And the cousin said, that can't be true. You must have made some kind of mistake. That can't be true. Things like that don't happen in the United States, his cousin said to him. Of course you can travel, his cousin said to him. He said, I'm only a student. What did I do wrong? That's not even, that story is, there are people who have died as a result, people trying to get to sick children, sick parents who have been turned away. When people say, as I do, that this administration is cruel, mean, vindictive, and un-American, I got a whole ton of supporting evidence. And can I rant just 1 second about the boil water thing? Celine, have you been, you're in Wilkinsburg, so you're not in it. Lucky you! Should have moved to Wilkinsburg. So, I don't get this thing. And I already have, if this were true, and they flunked these tests, I was drinking that water. My kids drinking the water for days when apparently it was, And I'm still here. I think this is true overreaction. That's my bet. And anybody who's feeling frightened, get a grip. There is no sickness that has happened. There is no giardia that's been found. There's part of me that wants to just give him the middle finger and say, stop bothering me, will you? I mean, just shut the F up. There's a 1 in a million possibility that if you brush your teeth with that tap water, you're going to get diarrhea. Well, I don't give a shit. Ha ha ha. Oh, yeah, I boiled a bunch of water last night. I did. And no one's even telling us exactly, is this incompetence that the state comes in and does a test and finds out there's not enough chlorine in the water? Hey, PWSA, Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. What kind of stumble bums are over there? If you're why aren't they testing and saying, geez, chlorine's down? Why should it take so long? Throw a bunch of friggin' chlorine in. Incompetence. PWSA. I pay him $65 a month. This is the service I get? $65 a month. Don't drink the water. Don't wash your dishes with that water. I am refusing to follow orders on this one. I really am. That's all. I had to say something. Pisses me off. So the department, okay, I'll shut up. So the mayor's office put out some statement and said, we hope people can just be patient. Oh, hope away. Phew. Guys. Yeah. Barbara just sent me a picture that I tweeted out a few days ago. It's a sweet little brown baby. One of the protesters at the airport here. I mean, this little brown baby is being held by its parent, and the little brown baby is wearing a sign that says, "Are you afraid of me, Trump?" Powerful stuff, because this baby is the face of a refugee. So, people are starting to come out of the woodwork and trying to explain how we got where we got. And the reality is, we know about this. It's the lizard brain thing. It's Republicans exploiting fear. Always. That's been their game plan since I've been doing what I do, which is paying some attention. Fear. Make people afraid. Usually of some minority. I mean, in my life, I've seen that, the boogeyman change. Blacks. Welfare queens. Gays. They're called wedge issues. I call them humans, myself. Republicans look at them as wedge issues. And they've always known that it's much easier to corral a whole bunch of people if you scare the bejeebers out of them and then tell them you'll keep them safe. It's the playbook for every autocrat and dictator in the world, and always has been. And they do it because when people feel scared, they sort of lose their lower brain functions kick in. It's called reptilian. We call it the reptilian brain because it's reptiles have that too. And we have that reptilian brain, but then we have all this other stuff on top of it that's supposed to make us smarter than a gecko. But the people who fall for this kind of manipulation are people who, for whatever reason, have a reptilian brain that kicks in faster, obviously, than mine does. And there's a whole ton of them out there. They put this man in the White House. Dictators are people who know how to speak to the lizard brain people. The person who's considered the expert on this is a woman named Karen Stenner. She wrote the book. She's a professor in Australia. It's called The Authoritarian Dynamic. And the opening line of her book says it all and reminds us that we are living amongst people, and it's about half and half. We've got a lot of people who don't see the world as we do. Let's call ourselves pluralists, or people who embrace difference. And then there's those people who are scared to death of it. The first sentence of her book is, some people will never live comfortably in a modern liberal democracy. Well, they've made themselves known. They don't want it. They don't want it. They want America to look like America again, to be white, not brown. They're scared. They're easily scared. And I said years ago, I can't sing the Star Spangled Banner anymore, way before Colin Kaepernick, because I choke on the last line. Actually, the last few words. And the home of the brave. Because it is cowards who behave in the way that Trump voters did. People easily scared and not thinking straight, who end up actually harming themselves, not making themselves better. I don't know, because when you're scared, you don't think. You only grab onto something to relieve the terror. And you got this Agent Orange come, and he says, be afraid, be very afraid, and only I can fix it. And they fall for it because they're grabbing for something. They feel like they're being swept down some crazed, roiling waterway, and they're grabbing onto anything that will save them. Wow. So, I think one of our greatest enemies in our fight to get our country back, unfortunately, is human nature. And the skill with which the Republicans have learned how to exploit it. Hey, by the way, a lot of people are starting to call their senators and congressmen all the time. And what you hear over and over and over again is there is no way to get in touch with Senator Toomey. There is no way. We have a senator who will not speak to us. Doesn't want to hear from us. Last time I looked, his job description is he is a civil servant who is supposed to represent the people of Pennsylvania. And he has walled himself off. You don't see him. You can't get through to him. You get busy signals. You're told to leave a message. Then you're told you can't leave a message because it's filled to overflowing. You have a senator who doesn't want to hear anything from you. He was heard from today. I actually saw a quote. It ended up in a New York Times editorial. After Senate Democrats did not attend two of these hearings on Trump's cabinet picks yesterday, thus stymieing the ability to have a vote, Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania was heard to say, sit down. We did not inflict this kind of obstructionism on President Obama. How can he say that? What gall? We, the Republicans, did not inflict obstructionism on Obama. See, I don't like people lying to my face. I don't like people like Toomey who will say something that is blatantly, provably a lie. And he won't let me tell him that. Unbelievable. So somehow there's a group, people are outside his office here in Pittsburgh is in Station Square. Every Tuesday, people march on that office by the hundreds and scream and yell. He's never opened a door. These are Republicans. This is how they represent you. Hey, did anybody notice too? See, while we're being distracted, anybody notice that the Russians have in the last 3 days been putting a lot of tanks and military war-making stuff at the Ukrainian border? They are clearly gearing up and, in fact, have started. For the third straight day, they have been bombing Ukrainian cities in the east. In one case, they took out the town's coke plant, which was the heating source for the town, which was heavily damaged yesterday. And it's a cold, cold winter there, and people are freezing. There is no way to heat any building there now. This is Putin, and that's not his country. And since Donald Trump loves Putin and has shown us in the past that he thinks maybe it's okay for them to go into the Ukraine, this could end up, we're going to start seeing people pushing. And if we don't push back in the right ways, like push Putin back, which is what the United States would always have done in the past, then we are signaling to the world that the United States of America, as it has been known, does not exist anymore. There are people who are suggesting that, and I'm jumping into a former subject here again, there are people who are suggesting that Trump picked Gorsuch not only because he was the youngest of all the people who was up. He will be the youngest Chief Justice in a long, long, long time. He could serve for 40 years. And he was a clerk to Justice Kennedy, who, of course, is the swing vote. He's the one the Republicans and conservatives can't always count on. And Kennedy is the power in that court. He's the swing vote. He's a Republican appointee. Gorsuch worked for him. They know each other well. This will be the first time, I think, that someone who clerked for a justice of the Supreme Court ends up serving on the same court with the guy he used to be the clerk to. It's understood that they admire each other and like each other, and the sense was, it's probably Bannon again figuring this because he's the strategist, that this, if we want Kennedy to feel like he can retire because they want him out, this might be one way to do it. This might be one way to show him that, look, you love Neil Gorsuch, and see, this is this is the kind of person we're going to put here. Not to worry. You can, I know you're tired. You're an old man now, you can go. So the New York Times analysis is that that's what the subtext of this appointment was. That in picking Neil Gorsuch, they were picking a candidate with the potential to reassure Justice Kennedy, the swing vote, that it would be safe to retire. It's not safe to retire. Please. So the other day I told you, this is one of the things I left on my kitchen counter. It's how senators have voted since Trump's inauguration. And this might be out of, because there have been votes since, I don't know. But I told you that the thing that was most bewildering is Dianne Feinstein, who got a score of 100%. How often a member votes in line with Trump's position. Dianne Feinstein, 100%. After Feinstein, all the other senators that have voted with him 100% are all Republicans. All of them. Goes on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on. And then we get our next Democrat. Wow, it's 2 pages of Republicans. 100%, 100%. And then you get to Chuck Schumer. He's voted with him 83%. That's why I suspect you saw a large crowd outside his Brooklyn residence last night. People screaming at him to get a spine. There's a whole bunch of them at 83%, including Claire McCaskill, Joe Manchin. Good God, Joe Manchin has actually not voted in lockstep with Trump as much as Dianne Feinstein. Then there's a whole bunch of Democrats who voted with him 66% of the time. And some of those, like Al Franken, Bob Casey, he's a 66%er. Sherrod Brown, he's supposed to be a real lefty. Guess who's joining them? Rand Paul. So Rand Paul, a Republican, libertarian, is opposing Trump at the same rate as Bob Casey and Ben Cardin and Robert Menendez and Al Franken and Debbie Stabenow. And those are our Democrats. You gotta be friggin' kidding me. The one with the lowest rate is a guy from New Mexico, from an illustrious Democratic family, Tom Udall. He's only voted with them 16% of the time. That's the lowest. So what does that tell you about Democrats? Also the lowest, I'm sorry, I wasn't completely correct. There are two that share that. And Kirsten Gillibrand. Wish I knew how to pronounce her name. The senator from New York. But there you go, guys. The pundits are starting to say that you're going to see the Democrats in Congress start digging in a little bit because of us. Because of us. We're scaring them now. Just like the Tea Party scared the Republicans, we're scaring the Democrats, and that's good. Yeah, Chris writes something that I told you about yesterday that's really fascinating, and I'm sure that some people... In that dossier that was put out in July, although we didn't know about it in July, that was put out about Trump and Russia, one of the things said that Putin had told Trump that if he became president and if he lifted the sanctions, that Trump would give him 19% of the Russian oil company. Well, 19.5% of the Russian oil company was just sold. And it's unclear to whom. A bunch of shell companies in the Cayman Islands, but somebody better follow that thread. Unbelievable. All right, we've got Michael on the line. Hi.
Hey, Lynn. I know you're almost done now. I just wanted to check in from Polish Hill and say that I am not boiling any effing water.
Good for you. Isn't that ridiculous?
I drink water out of the tap in Mexico City. I'm not scared of your Giardia.
Me either.
Tequila, I think that kills it anyway, so...
What?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I was so angry yesterday because at first they scare the bejeebers out of you, and then if you look into it at all, there's no basis for them to even give it a mention.
That's right.
They're like, well,
they're what? They're protecting.
Abundance of precaution.
Yeah, they're protecting themselves by totally making life miserable for thousands and thousands of people. Screw them.
That's what it's about. In case someone ends up on the toilet for a week, they can say, "We warned you."
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm with you.
So, I'll call next time. I'll call you from the toilet.
Okay. I'm sure you will. I wouldn't worry about it. I think you'll be fine.
I think so.
God bless you. All right, Michael.
All right, Lynn. Take care. Thanks for everything.
Okay.
Keep going.
Thank you. You too. Bye. All right. So, I mean, I'm not telling you not to follow the boil water thing, but I do think it if you try to look into it, you see that nobody's been sickened. They even haven't seen one of these little beasties, the Giardia, that this whole thing is about. There's just not enough chlorine in the water. So dump the chlorine in the water. Like my mother does with her swimming pool. She's always doing it, testing it, and blah, blah, blah. Just dump it in. Stop scaring people. Jesus. Okay, you guys. Well, that's it. God knows what's going to happen in the 23 hours between now and tomorrow's show. God knows. So, keep active. That's keep active, keep pushing. Seriously. We cannot let down. Love you. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.